Today we're talking about how to overcome your fear of failure. Hey there, I'm Michelle Coyle, and this is Queer Hustle, where we teach queer entrepreneurs how to start up and scale. Now, listen, the number one thing that I hear all the time that keeps people from starting their own business or from growing their business once they've started is the fear of failure, the fear of risk. So let's talk about how to get past it right now. All right, so the number one thing that I want you to understand about this is that it is totally normal and totally okay to be afraid. Everybody's afraid when they're doing this. I've been doing this for a really long time, 18 years now in serial entrepreneurship on and off, and I am still scared all the time, right? Like on an almost daily basis. So this is terrifying. And this is not about not being afraid. It is about being okay with being afraid, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about that as we go. But first, I just want you to understand that it is completely normal to be afraid of failure, or if you're one of those people that's afraid of success, that's normal too. But the fear you're feeling is fine, it's normal, and if you're not feeling fear, that's when I'd really be scared, because that means you're kind of maybe not thinking of something that you might need to be thinking about. So it's all right to be afraid. Now, for those of us who are queer entrepreneurs, this can even be compounded because we can start to feel like we really have something to prove. You know, it's not fair, but we talk about feeling like we need to be representatives for our gender, representatives for our sexual orientation. If you're trans or non-binary, you may feel like a representation of that gender identity versus just a person that's doing what you need to be doing in business. And especially when we don't have a lot of role models that look like us, you know, in a specific industry or as entrepreneurs in general, it can start to feel like, okay, well, it's on us to make sure that if we're going to do something that we succeed, because you know, there are people that are hoping for us to fail, or there are people that are that are really, really looking to us and hanging on our success so that they will feel good about being able to have their own success. And that puts a lot of pressure on it. And so I just want to say, like, let's just acknowledge that and take a second and realize that that is part of this and part of the process. And I just want you to understand that if you're feeling all of that outside pressure, sometimes even just identifying exactly what that pressure is or where that pressure is coming from can just be the first step to helping you to kind of say, okay, well, that pressure's there. And it's not necessarily moving past it, but it is just like acknowledging it and saying, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And naming it can kind of help. So it's okay if you feel like you have more to prove. I think that's also very normal. Okay. So part of this, especially with entrepreneurship, is realizing that you are going to fail, right? So I say, I can take the fear of failure away from you right now by telling you that you don't have to be afraid of like an if. It is a win. It is it's not a will I fail. It's I'm going to fail all the time. I'm going to fail constantly. I fail in little ways every single day. So it's almost even like long-term success is made up of a series of like small failures and micro failures, right? If you were to say it. So it's like, don't be afraid to fail. Realize that you're going to fail. And even in the business sense, the whole business might fail. But really, what I'm talking about is that you're going to fail in little ways every day, right? Like maybe I screwed up and I made an investment in the wrong thing, and there wasn't an ROI on that for me. Or I screwed up in management and I said something in the wrong way to somebody that works for me, and they got upset about that. Or I signed a contract that I shouldn't have signed, or whatever. There's just all kinds of little ways that we fail in business, and that's going to happen, and that's part of the process. And so it's not something to be afraid of as much as something to just acknowledge that that's going to happen, and it's going to happen continually. And in the same way, you're going to have little successes and micro successes every day too. It's not all failure all the time, or none of us would do it. It wouldn't be very fun. Okay, so the real point there is that every time that you fail at something, you want to get into the habit of taking the lesson from that, right? What did I learn from that? What can I do better next time? Is that something that I can take and use to help other people? Because I'm a business coach, this is one of the things for me is anytime I fail in business or make a mistake, I can take the lesson for myself in my own business, and I can also take the lesson and use that to say, hey friends, hey clients, don't do what I did. This is what happened. And so it gives me some valuable conversation fodder and teaching fodder as well. So no matter what, it's always a win. Either I succeed or I learn or I have something to give to somebody else or something like that. if you can get in the habit of just switching your mindset in this one little way to just take the wins and take the lessons, it's going to really change how you view everything. And it's going to make you much more excited to start your business, to work in your business, to grow your business, to do your job every day, and to not be so freaked out about things that might possibly go wrong. And part of this is that really on a macro level, when it comes to business, the only real way to fail is to quit entirely, right? And even that might not be a failure, right? But it's like the only way to fail is to quit. As long as you're getting back up, as long as you're trying again, as long as you're learning, as long as you're living to fight another day, you're not failing at all. You're actually succeeding. Like that's the difference. And I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs now as clients. And that's really the difference between the people that succeed and grow businesses and do really well long term and the people that don't, is that the people that don't quit. They quit. They quit too early. They got freaked out. It was too much for them. And so the business, then they ended up investing a lot of money into growing a business that didn't grow because they just, the water got too hot and they said, okay, I'm going to cut my losses and I'm going to stop and I'm going to shut it down. But the people that kept in it, kept fighting, kept learning, kept tweaking, those are the people that really do well in the long term with this. And really with that, even if you do end up shutting it down, like you do this for a few years and then it's just not for you, you want to go back, you want to work with somebody else or, something like that, that still doesn't mean it's a failure. If you learned something, if you had a good time, if you did something that helped people, you provided value for people, you didn't fail at all. That's like saying, if you had a 10-year marriage and you got a divorce, that it was a failure. Well, maybe some people would see it that way, or you could say, hey, we actually, we had a lot of good memories together and this was a success and this was, success for the time that it was. And business is like that too. Very few, if any, businesses are permanent. Nothing in life is really permanent. Like if the top 1% of the 1% of businesses might last for several decades, but most businesses don't, and that's okay. So if you're learning and you're enjoying something and you're moving to the next level in life, that's not a failure either. So at the end of the day, it's not about not being afraid, because again, we're all afraid all the time, in business and out of business. Fear is just a normal human emotion, and it's not about trying to not be afraid. It's just about being okay with being afraid. It's about being afraid and doing it anyway. That's what bravery is, right? So we're not asking you not to be afraid. We're just asking you to say, try to be brave and try to face that fear. And if this is what you really want to do, focus on the why of what you want to do and why you want to do this. And that will help you get past that fear and into that brave space where you can say, okay, I'm scared to fail, but I'm going to try to do it anyway. All right, so that's what I've got for you today. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel. We're always coming with free tips for my queer hustlers, and also with cool interviews with people who are awesome queer entrepreneurial role models. So I want you to not miss a second of that. Make sure to subscribe. Also, if you want to check out the link in my description, I have a free guide for how to thrive in this crazy time for queer entrepreneurs. So I'd love it if you'd check that out. Let me know what you think. Of course, always drop us comments. Let us know what you want to be hearing about, what you want to be talking about. We want to have a dialogue with you, and we want to make sure that we are putting out content that is useful to you. So that's it for today. I know you can do this. Be afraid, do it anyway. Get out there, let it shine. We'll talk to you next time.